everyone, it's the Axle Shifter here, and I am back with the next Multiverse Wars episode number 83. And today, we have one of the weirder matchups of the Multiverse Wars series. We have Goose from Untitled Goose Game versus the Bread from I Am Bread. Yeah, it's literally just a goose fighting the thing that it commonly eats thanks to other people feeding it in a lake in a park. Yeah. But regardless, we're still going to be doing this matchup anyway, since a pretty funny one, but also a very interesting one, just because of how absurd it is. But still, these guys do have a lot of feats in their type of games, so we're going to be seeing who wins here. And we're going to be compositing them both. Therefore, we're going to be using them all the items and statements and feats that they have in both of their games. So, without further ado, let's go. Goose is the protagonist of the stealth puzzle game Untitled Goose Game. It's basically a game where you play as a goose and just be a menace to everyone in the village. And yeah, that's kind of it. Now let's talk about powers, abilities, and feats. In terms of strength, AP, and durability, Goose should scale to around human level at its peak. The reason for this is because it's stated that in the game, he has above average strength for a goose, and his lifting strength is comparable to that of a normal human. And keep in mind that the average human can lift around over 200 pounds, meaning that this goose would be capable of lifting things like refrigerators, washing machines, and stuff like that, which is fucking crazy to think about, but this is pretty consistent considering that he can drag sacks of soil and small statues and could just knock things over and stuff like that in the garden or whatever you're at in the game. As for speed, the goose can keep up with and chase humans, and humans can run at speeds of average 27 miles per hour, meaning that this goose would be capable of keeping up with and even chasing Usain Bolt, which is also pretty insane. Now we have intelligence. Now, this goose clearly is not a normal goose, if you couldn't already tell, since he can actually outsmart and manipulate humans as well as complete the different puzzles throughout his game. But now we have his hacks and gear. Just like any other goose, he can fly and also honk. Plus, he actually has a lot of items he can use as weapons. The list includes the no goose sign 1 through 5, the adding machine, apple core, just an apple, a baby doll, a badminton racket, a bend bolt, a big pot, a bows, or just any bow, a bra, a broken bit, a bucket, candlestick, canned foods, a carrot, chalk, clippers, a coin, a cork, a cricket ball, cricket bat, and yeah, many more. That's a lot of items to use for a goose when you're bullying people in your town. But despite all of that, his crazy strength and arsenal, Goose still has his weaknesses, as he is still a goose after all at the end of the day. Despite being more powerful than the average one, he can still be killed and overpowered by other animals or even the right person. But overall, this goose is still a force to be reckoned with. So the next time you see a goose chasing you with a knife, run. Bread is the main character of the game I Am Bread, where the goal is to become toast by getting in the toaster, or just heating up emitting objects, or at least any other heat emitting objects. Now powers, abilities, and feats. Bread is capable of knocking over / destroying objects like glass jars, chairs, and many more in the game. But this is a massive lowball, as it's capable of causing a gas explosion by igniting a flammable vapor anyway. Now, to clarify, the bread didn't output the explosion energy, but it did trigger a chain reaction that caused the gas station to explode via the flammable vapor, meaning that in terms of AP and durability, the bread would scale down below human level at a low end to small building level at a high end. And this is pretty consistent because bread can survive falls from shelves and stuff like that, and colliding with the certain objects that it is destroying / knocking over. And as for speed, bread is capable of moving on its own and can avoid hazards in the environment, as well as reacting to mid-fall grabs to ledges and stuff like that, giving it human reaction speeds and athletic human travel slash movement speeds. Now, as for intelligence, bread is capable of moving on its own and navigating through different places it's in, meaning that it is a fairly decent strategist in trying to get to the toaster or any other flammable place. Now, for hacks and gear, he has the ability to climb on walls. He actually has rockets that allow him to fly. He has limited invincibility thanks to the power-up thing called the Magic Marmalade. Also, he has his different forms, like in his Rampage Buget form, where he's pretty much just a Buget. But the catch is, he's actually immortal in this state. He can also adapt to zero-gravity environments. His Bagel form increases speed to the point where he can just race around the room by rolling around. And in the Starts DLC, here pretty much are, he has rockets, then lasers strapped to him that makes him act like a spaceship that allows him to fly. So yeah, but now we have weaknesses. It is standard bread weaknesses, meaning that he is vulnerable to water and dirt and can just mold over time and become weaker because at the end of the day, he is just a piece of bread. But overall, you can make sure that bread is just not moldy. Otherwise, he will just maybe destroy your house, I don't know, or you could just eat him as a sandwich. But now that we've discussed both characters, it's time we talk about who would win this fight. And while this debate is very weird, you can say, I would have to say that Bread would be the winner of this fight. And I will tell you why. Firstly, we have AP and durability. Goose has the strength comparable to the average human and can lift objects that are much heavier than Bread. So Goose should be physically stronger than Bread and just be able to throw him around. Even if Bread caused a gas explosion, he didn't directly cause it, meaning that Goose should have the overall edge in terms of strength. But as for durability, this changes. When you count the Bread form's abilities, or at least forms anyway, that being the temporary invincibility mode and the Bruguette form that makes him immortal, this means that Bread should have the edge in durability and endurance anyway. Next is speed. Goose can chase humans that pretty much have the average speed of over 20 to 27 miles per hour and has reaction speeds comparable to humans. Bread also has human-level reaction speeds too, thanks to his Bagel form, which allows him Bread to roll faster, so I think speed is fairly equal at least. Now, I'd also argue that Goose is slightly smarter than Bread since he has shown more feats of manipulating humans and planning out his schemes, but Bread is also pretty intelligent too since he can navigate his environment and get around the place more, but he just has less feats of that showcase. Now, we have their powers, abilities, and other items that they use. This is where Bread takes the edge and advantage. While Goose has a lot more things to use in his arsenal, Bread's gear and powers are just simply too much for Goose to handle, since pretty much Bread can just use his rockets or his spaceship form to avoid Goose's attacks or at least escape him long enough. Plus, he can also just use his lasers from a distance thanks to his spaceship mode, or he can just turn his Bruguette form and prevent taking damage from Goose at all or even dying. So, in the end, Goose may be physically stronger, but Bread's superior durability, gear, and abilities would ensure that this time, the Goose becomes dinner. The winner is Bread.